Am I the asshole if I told my mum that I wasn't sure about inviting her and her new family to the wedding due to the past? My dad passed away when I was 5 years old. It shouldn't come as a surprise that I was really close with my mother after him passing away. We were each other's close friend. My mum rarely went on dates, even though I asked her to, so it was just me and her. After high school, I was working at my security job while living at home. One day, I come home to my mum being involved with a guy, let's call him Jack, that seemed to be around my age. I officially met him a week later. He was revealed to be 22. I was 21 at the time, and apparently him and my mum were in a year-long relationship already. They were in the same MBA program. My mum and I were just practically roommates after that. She seemed too distant for the past year, which seemed to make sense, but our relationship even further deteriorated. I'll admit that I was overly reliant on my mother emotionally and financially, but both of them seemed to treat me like a hindrance that they needed to overcome. My mum would barely make any time with me, even though I lived with her. Jack seemed to look down on me due to my profession and the fact that I was living with my mum. The wedding happened a year later. I only went out of respect for my mum, even though Jack and his loved ones treated me like a pariah. I moved out a month after their honeymoon. I rented a room with my mum, helping with expenses here and there. My mum got pregnant at 44 years old with twins. I tried as often as I could, but Jack watched me like a hawk. I overheard them talking about doing things right this time. I wanted to talk about how I feel about Jack with my mother. It was a bad idea because she dismissed how I felt and said she would always side with him due to him being her husband. After that argument, we didn't talk for about 5 weeks. I got a call about how she misses me and hoped I would get over it. I decided to distance myself from my mum and improve my life. This time, my mother was the one calling once a week to talk to me. I was short but cordial. I only called on rare occasions. I eventually went back to school and got a degree in computer science. I landed a nice, well-paying job 2 years ago. A week ago, I proposed to my fiancé. My mother asked if she could come visit us with her family. I said yes. She seemed super excited for me and asked me about when and where the wedding is. I told her that it was in Hawaii. She joked about never going to a wedding before with tikis. I decided to be upfront with her, saying I wasn't sure if I was going to invite her and her family. She was in shock and asked why. I told her it would be a happy day for me, and I don't want her and her family to come, as I still have issues with them, and they would be a constant reminder of that. She said okay, and then sobbed in a way that I've never seen before. Jack found her crying and got her out of there with the kids. A couple of days later, I got a couple of relatives calling me an ungrateful son who doesn't care about his mother. Am I the asshole? In the comments, Zealf Prince says, I fail to see how any of this is a surprise to your mother or her asshat SONSBAND, when they were discussing, within earshot of you, about getting it right this time, implying that she got it wrong with you, not the asshole. A wedding is a time to celebrate you and your partner's life with whoever you want there. If you want your mum there, invite her without any option for a +1, and she can choose to come or not. If you don't want her there, don't extend an invitation. You have a very justifiable reason for not wanting her or her new husband there. Not that I'm of the opinion that you even need any reason. You don't need people like that dragging you down on a joyous occasion. As long as you're okay with the potential fallout, she might stop talking to you entirely for a long while, then it's completely fine. And if you're not okay with that as a potential outcome, again, extend an invite to her and her alone as a compromise. If she turns up her nose, that's her problem. You tried. Congrats on the engagement. Wishing you a wonderful wedding. Extremely creepy that she started dating a 21-year-old who was a year older than her son, and with his comments about doing it right this time, it really looks like mum was trying to live her life over again. How can that not hurt the child that you already have? She fostered a codependent relationship with her son until she unceremoniously replaced him with a model that she could sleep with. Gross. Also, the relationship died the moment she said she would always choose her husband over OP. No! You always choose your child first, no matter how old you are. You never want to feel second best to your parents. Yeah, just really creepy. Really, really weird enmeshment right there. I feel like what was going on with OP before this new SONSBAND came into the picture was very much emotionally incestuous. And yeah, like people have said, the fact that she went for someone only a year older than her son, yuck, 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 yuck. That already poisons the water with my opinion of her. I feel like she's a fucking creep for doing that. That's very, very weird. And then on top of that, to have these conversations within earshot, I understand having these conversations at all is bad, but it's made so much worse knowing that he can potentially hear you saying this. That is evil. Bottom of the barrel stuff. I'm surprised people are even saying to invite her at all. I'd be like, no, you fucking crazy lunatic. You are not coming anywhere near my wedding if I have my say. I think you're not the asshole here, OP, but I don't think she should get an invitation. Definitely not. And if she's that creepy and weird, I'd probably even keep her away from grandkids for a good long while. I don't trust her at all. Our next post is cross-posted from the Am I the Asshole Here subreddit by user TopVersion2940, and it's titled, Am I the asshole here for telling my daughter I won't budge even if she never speaks to me again? My daughter Casey, 17 female, worked and saved up money for around a year to be able to afford a better car than we could buy her with our family budget. My other daughter Alana, 16 female, has ADHD, recently got her driver's license, and asked to drive Casey's car. Casey allowed it, but Alana ended up having a bad accident around 6 months ago, which basically rendered the car unusable. The insurance payout wasn't nearly enough to cover the replacement, and with Alana's medical bills from the accident, thankfully there was no permanent damage, just a broken arm and leg, there was no way that we could afford to replace Casey's car immediately. Alana was very apologetic to Casey, and so were we since we couldn't afford to replace her car. Casey didn't accept our apology and has been basically avoiding us, skipping family dinners, and pretty much pretending that her mum, Alana, and I do not exist, and only talks to us if she needs a form signed for her school. I begged her to come to a family therapy session, and she eventually relented, but with the condition that Alana wouldn't be present. In the therapy session, she told us that she won't be resuming a relationship with us until we replace her car, which realistically won't be until next year. When the therapist asked how she expected us to do that, Casey said we could just make Alana work to earn the money. The issue is that Alana has severe ADHD, and already has trouble managing her schoolwork. I'm worried that making her work to earn the money will harm her grades and have significant ramifications for her future. Casey said, well, she should have thought about that before destroying my car. I don't care. I'm not going to speak to any of you unless I have my car replaced. I responded that she was free to avoid speaking to me for as long as she wanted to, but I'm not going to permanently harm her sister's future to get her a car earlier. My wife agrees with me that we need to stand firm on our position, but is also genuinely afraid of Casey never speaking to her ever again. I understand that her car was ruined, but I, as a parent, need to look out for all of my children, not just one. I also don't want to set the precedent that emotional blackmail will work, even if what you're asking for is unreasonable. Am I the asshole here? In the comments, Alana aside, what lesson will Casey take away from this at 17? Hopefully not that her good habits and hard work leads nowhere. I'm ADHD. I crashed my friend's car while driving without a license when I was 16. I almost hit a cop. Guess who had to do many hours of community service and get a job to pay her fines and friends' cars repairs because her parents sure as fuck weren't footing that bill? It's me. Those were my consequences. You're the asshole. You're shitting all over Casey to protect Alana from the consequences of her actions. If her condition is that bad, why was she allowed to drive in the first place? Bingo. If she has severe ADHD and can't focus, why is she operating a motor vehicle? 100% OP coerced Casey into letting Alana drive the car. Casey saved for this, and you're punishing her for her being upset that you, by proxy, took this from her. And now onto the update. Mother's post almost 1 month later. Am I the asshole here for telling my husband we need to suck it up and buy our daughter a new car? I, 39 female, and my husband, 43 male, have 2 daughters, Alana and Casey. Casey has held down a steady job for over a year now and was able to get herself a car. Now, she got this car right as Alana passed her own driver's test, so there was a little issue between who was going to be driving. After a little persuasion, Casey did allow Alana to use her car so long as somebody else paid for gas. We told her that wasn't going to cut it. Alana doesn't have the money for that, and it's her car, her responsibility to keep gas in it and keep it on the road. Here's where it gets difficult. Alana wrecked about a month ago. Luckily, she was fine aside from a broken wrist and a mild concussion, but Casey was fuming the entire time and seemed to have this expectation that we would be replacing the car. Her and my husband got into it, and she threw her arms up like a child and stopped speaking to us. We coaxed her into family therapy with us, thought it wasn't productive, as she and the therapist agreed that it would be best to maintain the reduced contact until she's paid back. Here's the problem. That car was 15 grand. She saved up every penny for a year for that car. She'd ask us about twice a week if we changed our mind, and obviously the answer was no. But that was the only thing that she'd say to us. It didn't seem to bother my husband, and he kept saying that she'll get over it. Until last week, she packed some things and had my mother come and get her. She's been staying at her grandmother's for a little over a week now, and she gave me a good earful. Whatever Casey told her worked, because earlier today, my husband and I were informed that we had 30 days to replace the car in full, or she was taking us to court. I think my husband is admirable in wanting to stand his ground, but the way that I'm looking at it, we have 2 options. And I'm sick of my daughter not talking to me because of shit that is not my fault. Alana has been a wreck. She's already battling severe ADHD, and now she's shaking at the thought of having to appear in court. So I sat them both down and said we have 2 options. We can suck it up, pay $15,000, and have our daughter and sister back, and Alana will just have to buck up and work. Or we can let my dad sue my husband and I on Casey's behalf, and almost certainly lose. We spoke to 4 different firms, and all 4 echoed similar sentiment that it would probably cost us close to triple in the end to bring it to court and fight it there. So that's when I told my husband that I am not going 30 grand further into debt for him to hold the pettiest grudge. He's saying that I'm being manipulative by holding the situation over his and Alana's heads. I'm not saying it's not part my fault. All I said was that no matter what, at the end of the day, we owe Casey, and he just needs to accept that. We can afford $15,000 to replace the car, but if we have to dish out double that, just to lose in court anyway, I'm divorcing him before he makes that mistake. In either case, I'm done not supporting both of my daughters. We've tried reasoning with Casey, and it's resulted in nothing. We lost this one. Am I the asshole for trying to get my husband to accept it? I feel I may be, just for how long I was being a passenger, no pun intended, in the situation, and for threatening my husband with divorce. I don't think we did anything that wrong, but I am willing to admit when we made some mistakes, and we have to make up for it somehow. In the comments, what is she supposed to do? Magically come up with thousands of dollars to pay my oldest back? It's not a matter of wanting to hold people accountable, it's simply not realistic. I also want to state on record, I was very against Casey getting a car that nice as her first, but she never listened. Insurance would have likely paid for some of it if she would have just put her sister as an approved driver on the plan. It wouldn't have been difficult, but no, it's not Alana's fault that she has ADHD. It's not like she wrecked on purpose. Snaken says, Casey saved up $15,000 and didn't pay the $300 per month to get insurance? Nope. Sounds like Alana wrote this and doesn't know how insurance works. Alana, pay for the gas if you drive the car. OP says she had insurance. But they really screwed us over because Casey didn't approve Alana as a driver on the plan. That was a big determining factor in us deciding to hold firm. If Alana would have been approved on the plan, we would have covered the remainder of what the insurance was offering. But this is the result of Casey's decision. Hence, I agreed with my husband that it's fully her responsibility. I just didn't expect her to sue us out of nowhere like this, and I especially didn't expect my parents to be enabling this behavior. What's in her best interest might suck now, but she'll learn from it in the future. My husband's been fuming for weeks over this, and a lot of you were saying he even made a post, but if they ruled not the asshole, then he wasn't telling the full story. Alana broke her arm in that wreck, and all Casey has cared about the past month is her car. That's the genesis behind the family therapy, and I'm very concerned that so many people are supporting her entitled behavior. And now for the second update. So it's been a few weeks since I last updated, and I wanted to start out by addressing a few things that opened my eyes a little bit in regards to this situation. The first being my husband's post, which came well before my own. He and I fought over that. I truly didn't love that he used real names. However, when I found out he posted, for the sake of transparency, I used real names as well. But with that being said, I went through with the difficult decision to serve him divorce papers. To really abbreviate things, I went to therapy as lots of you suggested, and I was assessed with a diagnosis for obsessive-compulsive disorder in my second session, and in my third session, we discussed the whole car situation, and my personal therapist explained it to me in a way that made it hard not to feel awful for Casey. The discussion we had covered quite a lot, but the common denominator in everything that's been going wrong has in large part been my husband. He's the reason Casey shared her car. He's the reason Alana got hurt driving on her own, and he's the reason that we're set for court in barely a week and still don't have an attorney. And me, I don't know what I've been doing, but it hasn't been being a mother, if I'm honest. One of you asked me straight up why I was being a passenger, and I just don't have a good answer. I let my parents know about the divorce, and they were a little concerned, but what I didn't expect was for Casey to reach out. The last time we talked was mostly her and my husband butting heads. I really thought she was about to turn me on a spit, but I've never heard her cry like that. At least not since she was much younger. I make a little bit more than my husband, but finding an apartment was brutal, especially with Alana wanting to come with me. I don't think I was clear enough about how badly I want to pay Casey back before, but I do. Most of my money is in joint savings though, so there isn't much I can afford. But my husband wasn't going to back down. I won't lie, I was selfish. I begged Casey to drop my name from this suit. I told her I would pay her what I could afford to right this second, which wasn't much in comparison, and she told me it wasn't so much the car or the value on its own that she wanted back, it was the security to have something of her own. And she listed off probably dozens of instances where Alana got first pick over her, and it was very hard to refute. She told me that losing that much money sucked, which I fully understand. But the bigger loss to her was that her first big girl purchase, which a lot of friends and family were excited about, was now going to be remembered as a family-ending disaster. She told me that she knows I can't replace that. We agreed to breakfast next week and joint therapy. Us two, and her only condition was that I don't try at any point to save him from the suit, which I agreed to. Alana came to me even before my last post, saying she only drove so far because my now ex-husband pressured her into picking up the grocery order early for something he wanted to make. This also changed my perspective. I was under the impression that she was doing her own thing, but even my own husband owned up to that, which ground my gears. But I put it together. Illegal driver in an expensive car, not insured and under pressure. Alana drove, but I've come to realize that my ex-husband seems to have a tendency to like to pressure people. He's pressured me a lot too. He probably pressured Casey into letting Alana drive at all, which brings me back to her. And we finished our talk with better terms. I owe her so much more than breakfast out, but I'm just beyond grateful that she's even willing to look at me. I've seen a lot of bold assumptions that I hate Casey and that I vastly favor Alana, but I only feel the second part was ever accurate. I never hated my own daughter. I was frustrated with her over something that I've come to realize wasn't her fault. As of now, I'm just adjusting to a much quieter place and to my phone buzzing non-stop. I've only been moved out for 5 days, and Alana has seemed so much less anxious, to me at least. It's odd, because my place now isn't anywhere near what the house is, but I think last night was probably the first time that I've slept 8 hours since high school. Today was productive. And for Casey, I'll admit it, I hope she wins. I hope she gets her car, and then some. As for the divorce, I don't want much material. I won't say no to it. I'd rather just have my share of joint savings and try to tackle my own issues. Of which, I guess I have more than I would have been willing to admit a month ago. I know I'm going to get pelted most likely, but I want you to know that I'm thankful. The internet is mean, but it tells the truth. And however this turns out, it's largely your comments that helped me see what I was doing wrong, and who was enabling those things. And most importantly, how I could stop it. It's times like this when my dad would tell me, I'm not lucky, I'm privileged. And I think that applies here. I'm privileged that my daughter didn't just laugh, even though she could, and arguably should have. That's the update. I'll update whenever Case and I meet, barring she's comfortable with it, and then you probably won't hear from me until the whole suit and divorce is over and done with. I just want Reddit to know I hear you all, and I wish I could have seen reason when I first posted. I'm frustrated reading my own comments. Therapy is a powerful thing. In the comments, 369DRF says, "You're a sociopath. You are an irrefutable failure of a mother even after this update. Keep going to therapy. You need more learning and deprogramming. I do have a feeling that your husband has been the prime abuser, emotionally and manipulatively, of the entire family, because you sound like you believe being marriage material is a woman who submits to everything their man demands and wants, with no act of their own autonomy. Casey is obviously not that, and she will be marriage material to someone who respects and treats her correctly. You and your family evidently have not. Still, even if you do learn from your mistakes, you are blatantly refusing accountability of your own actions and opinions and using your husband as a scapegoat. You refused any responsibility in your first post, and you're taking 5 Skittles worth of responsibility now. Please, let this ring in your head for the rest of your life. Even if you genuinely change, and Casey still chooses to go no or low contact with you and separates you from her life, you are solely to blame. Her dad will be to blame for her separating from him. If Casey cuts Alana off, it will be all 3 of your faults, all thanks to your abysmal parenting and abhorrent favoritism. But the best thing to happen for Casey is for you and her father to be cut out from her life permanently after she wins this court case. You truly are a pathetic shell of a mother. Your husband is worse, but you are not absolved of responsibility for the trauma that you caused your daughter. You may not hate her, you might even kind of love her, but you surely do not fucking love anybody more than yourself." OP replies, "I respect your conviction because a chunk of it is true. At no point have I said that this isn't my fault. I've come to terms that I played a massive role in this too. I talked this over with my therapist last Friday. He himself told me the real damage is being done to me through demeaning comments like this one. I would agree on 2 counts. I was somebody that Casey would have been better off without a month ago or 6 months ago, maybe even a year ago, and I haven't been a great mother. I was a passenger. I accept that and have come to terms with it. Those truths being what they are, a lot of you have this crazy expectation that I need to simply stop existing and give up because I was a shitty person a month ago and that I have some work to do. Case and I are on speaking terms. Case and her sister have spoken as well. Nobody has spoken to Eric. While Alana and I both played our roles absolutely, I'm still not going to ignore patient 0 of this whole civil war being Eric. He's the reason Case had to share at all. He's the reason Alana was driving the car. He's the reason we even dragged this out to court. He's the one that had me convinced Alana didn't need more help than she got. My greatest role in this was being a blind, oblivious excuse of a mother, and what I'll say is, the amount of anger I see coming from these comments, I feel it 30-fold because this drama and bullshit that should have been cut out yesteryear, I just didn't. But I'm not going to hear you call me a worthless person lying down. I think a worthless person would still be with Eric and still be ignoring the main issues. A worthless person would be bitter at Casey, not sympathetic. A worthless piece of shit would have sworn up and down that this wasn't their fault and put it on somebody else. I will not at any point be doing that again the way that I fully admit I did in my first post. I was told a lot of shit over the last couple of weeks by Casey, and there are some people that I would like to scalp alive right about now. But all that anger is a waste of my energy because I've seen those big 3 letters, "You're the asshole," enough times over the last month to crush whatever delusion I had that I was blameless. I know I'm not blameless, and I take a lot of comfort in knowing that you and I both might live to 60, 70, maybe 80 or 90 years, and at no point will you ever be able to erase the progress I have and will continue to make. You'll only be able to watch it happen and seethe. I recommend St. John's wort. It does wonders. Another commenter says, after all of the vile and putrid shit that you posted about your daughter, I hope she doesn't only sue both of you for the value of her car, but takes you both to the cleaners and empties those joint savings for the emotional distress and downright filth and shit that you were so proud of telling strangers about her just 2 weeks ago. In response to a commenter LostTime37, OP says, that's funny. Alana is the only one that we've ever had to talk about boys with. I don't think Casey is very dateable. Definitely don't see her being marriage material. It's Alana we have to worry about. Case will come around. This isn't the first mountain that she's constructed out of a molehill, I'll have you know. If and when you see your daughter, make sure you tell her face to face that this is what you, her egg donor, think of her as a person. I hope your dad also sues your ass for the shit that you posted about him. You are no victim here. You are a despicable piece of shit and a shit show of a mother and a vile human being. And that seems to round out what I have of this post so far. I don't know if either of the posters of this story want to come back and give an update as to what has happened here. And you know what? I don't blame them, because it's probably just going to get them yelled at even more. I'll give the wife props here for at least recognizing that she needs to do and be better. There is nothing wrong with reconciliation and recognizing the harm that you have done and hoping to do better in the future. I commend her for doing that, but in the same breath, these commenters attacking her are also valid in their stances for what they've said and why they've said it. Because those comments about her were not too far removed from the post of OP, the wife, being like, I done goofed up. I didn't do the right thing here. Hello YouTube, I have made a severe and continuous lapse in my judgment, and I don't expect to be forgiven. I'm simply here to apologize. Let me get my ukulele out. I hope with this serenade, you're able to forgive me. We'll see what happens if there is further updates in the future, but hey, OhNoConsequences, oh god. Not the consequences of my actions. I hate when my seeds that I've sown have come home to roost. Jesus. Those are kind of the vibes I'm getting from at least the wife in this situation. Who knows if Eric, the husband, even cares about the damage he's done? I'm gonna guess no. He sounds like a real piece of work. Anyway, guys, that's all I have for you today. I do hope you enjoyed the episode. If you did, let me know what you thought of it in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.